What's going on, everybody? Josh Callaway alongside Tom Green, Sooners Illustrated and 24/7 Sports at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where Oklahoma went on the road for the first time this season and handled business. 42-3, the Sooners dominate Temple on Saturday. Tom, we went into the game knowing, we were both confident, as Colin Kennedy was, as James E. Jackson was over at Sooners Illustrated, that Oklahoma was going to be fine here. But it was kind of set up to be a little bit of a sleepy trap game, right? I mean, a big game last week, a big game next week. It's an early start. The crowd was not very good. It was pretty flat in here. I mean, it was, it was kind of what we thought it would be. It was an early start at Temple. A lot of Oklahoma fans. It was about a 50-50 crowd probably. But they came out ready to go. They dominated this game really from start to finish. Way outgained them over 400 more yards. Brent Venables called it a mature win. I think that's really a very good way to put it. They just came out ready to play and just simply put handled business today.
Yeah, I mean, there was no hangover whatsoever after that big win. And like you said, it could be a tricky spot coming off a big win and then with another big game coming up in that SEC opener against Auburn next week.
Yeah.
But they came out and they handled business. I really think that, they took to heart what Brent was saying about, handling success and kind of pointing to that 2023 team and, how after the big Texas win, they had that narrow win against UCF and then the back-to-back losses that kind of derailed it. But they really just, like you said, handled their business, came out, a mature win, dominant really in all three phases of the game.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, Oklahoma's obviously a lot better than Temple. That's not up for debate, obviously. But I do think they deserve some credit for it, just human nature to kind of come out and maybe not quite have the edge that they've had, certainly in a season opener type of spot, or last week against Michigan, or what they expect to have next week against Auburn in the SEC opener. But I mean, they came out 3 and out, and then went right down the field and scored, and then went for 2 and got it on that crazy Jaron Candy play we could talk about in a second. It just immediately, in the blink of an eye, it was like, oh, they came to play, and they're going to blow this game open, which is, again, we kind of talked about in the game preview a little bit on Friday. That's what championship top-end teams should do in these spots. The teams that are winning titles year in, year out aren't messing around with Temple. I know it's a tricky spot, but you just can't let that happen, and I thought Oklahoma did a really, really good job of that today. Again, they deserve credit for that. I know, again, this is a game they should have won by a lot, and they did, but they deserve credit when I think nationally the whole country was kind of flirting with the idea of maybe Oklahoma should be on upset alert, this could be a tricky game. I mean, none of that. This game was a blowout from the opening kick.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, they jumped out to a 25-0 lead before Temple even got on the board.
Yeah.
Temple's only points came after John Mateer threw an interception at the 13-yard line, and Temple lost yards on that next possession.
Right.
They went backwards, settled for the field goal, only points of the game. I mean, credit to Oklahoma's defense. Again, 5 turnovers now in 3 games, and they've given up 9 total points on those turnovers. They come out here today, Temple punted on 12 of its, I guess technically 14 possessions if you want to count the kneel down at the end of the first half, but really 12 of their 13 possessions, 10 of those were 3 and outs. It was a dominant performance from Oklahoma's defense, held Temple to, I think, 104 total yards, 1.9 yards per play, which is the fewest that an Oklahoma defense has allowed since 2014. Against Kansas, and I think that was 1.7 yards per game. So just a really thorough performance from this defense again. Brent joked after the game that it's disgusting that they haven't been able to get a turnover yet, even though they've been very dominant. And then they've talked about it so much in all the previous years about playing good complementary football. And we're starting to see that with this team now because, the offense was out there dealing. John Mateer, 350 total yards roughly again, rushing touchdown, passing touchdown, 9th straight game that he's done that in his career dating back to Washington State last year. 100-yard performance from Torrey Blaylock, probably the MVP of the day for Oklahoma's offense. And just a very well-rounded effort, over 500 yards total offense, 220 rushing I think it was. And, just being able to, balance things out and, not put the defense in too many inopportune spots, not, keeping anybody on the field too long, being able to rotate guys, and just really clicking in all 3 phases of the game, it felt like.
Yeah, it feels like offensively, and this is to be expected, it's getting better and better. Each week, it just seems a little more buttoned up, more and more. John Mateer, like you pointed out, played very well again today, had the interception. He's had one each week. almost was caught by Keontae Lewis. He got blown up. That's a potentially big injury. We'll see how that shakes out over the course of the week. Obviously, Keontae Lewis off to a great start this season. You mentioned Troy Blaylock. He goes over 100 yards. John Mateer got active with his legs again in this game, had a 51-yard touchdown run that really kind of put the final nail in the coffin in that third quarter. Offensive line, no Michael Fasusi today. We thought they might hold him back. They did. Logan Howland got the start. Thought they played very well again. It just seems like, Tom, this offense, and again, it's to be expected when it's a new OC, new quarterback, a lot of new players. Each week, it just seems like it's a little more, polished each week as the season goes along, and that's going to make you feel good for an Oklahoma fan because it's been pretty good so far, and it just does seem like the timing of everything, the run game is certainly improving more and more with each passing week, and you got the quarterback in place, you're in a good start, and John Mateer continues to be very, very good.
Yeah, you mentioned John Mateer and how comfortable he is in this offense. I think he has 18 passing plays of 20-plus yards. Mm-hmm. Again, they had 21 all of last season. So through 3 games, nearly matching that. Today, they finally got some of those plays in the run game, too. They had 2 20-plus yard run plays, the first of the season. Before that, Mateer's run last week against Michigan in the fourth quarter was, the 19-yarder was the longest. Torrey Blaylock had an 18-yarder. He had a 25-yarder. That was his longest of the day. It was longest for any Oklahoma player this season for all of one play before John Mateer breaks off a 51-yard touchdown on the very next snap. So you're starting to see them kind of get rolling, finding their footing in the running game and being able to complement that passing attack and what they can do with John Mateer's arm and what he can do with his legs.
Jaren Kanak, man. Jaren Kanak, it's we're trying not to just repeat ourselves every week because he's done it every week. It is shocking how good of a tight end he's been so far. Then the 2-point conversion play out of nowhere, Jaren Kanak throws the 2-point to the punter, Jacob Ulrich. Just a hilarious play. It just kind of, all the jokes of, man, what can't Kanak do right now? He's been unbelievable. It really just – he's a legitimate – and they picked up that 3rd and 19. That was on a pass.
Third down conversions that he's got today.
He's clearly he's becoming Mateer's safety blanket. He really is.
In a way, yeah. Like you said, it's been impressive what he's been able to do through his first 3 games now. Yeah. He entered this week, leading all tight ends nationally in receiving. And we'll see where he is after this one.
He didn't hurt himself today.
But they rotated a little bit more. We saw Cade McIntyre get in there. We saw some Will Huggins and all that. But, Jaren Kanak just looks like a natural out there, especially as a pass catcher. A very efficient quarterback, apparently. Really interesting seeing them do. They lined up for the PAT, and then Tate Sandell motioned out wide. Kanak came into the shotgun and then kind of faked a run. It was a very Tim Tebow-esque jump pass where he faked the run at the line of scrimmage, pulled back, and just kind of lofted it into Jacob Ulrich. So that was an interesting little wrinkle that now Auburn has to prepare for next week, even if that's something that you're not going to pull off again. It's just something that, hey, they have to spend 10, 15 minutes of practice preparing for that. So a little bit of mind games there, gamesmanship as you're heading into SEC play. But, I was impressed with Jaren Kanak. Again, you touched on Torrey Blaylock. Isaiah Satania with his best game of the season. Good to see him bounce back after he had that muffed punt a week ago. Comes in, has almost 100 yards receiving on 7 receptions. So just lots of different playmakers finding their footing for Oklahoma right now. No doubt. Especially good to see Satania have a game like that when Keontae Lewis leaves this game. Who knows, right? I mean, we'll talk about it during the week, obviously, if he'll be around for Auburn or not. But obviously, Deion Burks, we know what he is. Great playmaker. Jaren Kanak's out here making plays. If Keontae Lewis were not to be available, it's nice to know that you just had Satania coming off his best game in OU uniform going into it. Has a little momentum. Maybe they get Giovanni Gibson back next week. Maybe. He's getting closer. He's out here warming up. It's just warm-ups, right? It's not even close to a game, but he looks better and better every week. He's not late. If you didn't know he was hurt in warm-ups, like when they stretch and stuff, you wouldn't know. He looks great. He's getting ever so much closer. That's a great point as well. Yeah, and on the injury front, I will say, at the end of the game, I was standing in the tunnel. Michael Fasusi, like you mentioned, didn't play. They held him back. He had a protective boot on his left foot, but he was running through that tunnel, looked just fine. Yeah. Good to know. I think, he'll probably be back in there. We'll talk again. We'll get an update during the week, but I would think Michael Fasusi right back in there next week against Auburn. I don't have a ton to add defensively. It was really good. Like you mentioned, it's becoming a little bit of a joke almost, the fact they haven't forced a turnover yet. But when you're dominating the way they are, this is the second game, just like Illinois State would have been a shutout if not for a turnover, gave them a short field. Temple, you mentioned, just a smidge over 100 total yards of offense in this game. Couldn't do anything. Evan Simon, Temple's quarterback, who has some ability, was just on the ground all day long. Really good day defensively. They got Kendall Dolby back. He was out there. He made a couple tackles. Looked a little rusty in coverage at times. But, first game in about a year for him, so give him a little time.
Cortland Guillory good again. They got pressure. Really, the only bad thing is the fact our Mason Thomas got ejected in the second half of this game, which means he would be out for the first half of the Auburn game if they can't win their appeal, which Brent Venables said they will do. You asked him about it, and he said they are going to try and appeal it. We'll see. I honestly haven't really seen a replay of it since it happened live.
They didn't show it upstairs in the press box.
So as we're doing the instant reaction, I don't know what their chances are of winning that. They're going to try, but obviously Oklahoma's best defensive player are going to miss the first half. That's not great. But otherwise, another game where this defense, they just fly around. There's so many guys making plays, and you cannot run on this team. Temple had no hope of running the ball at all. Just kind of a workmanlike, came in and really just flat dominated the way they should on defense, I thought.
Yeah, like you mentioned, 12 punts, 10 3-and-outs, really didn't give Temple any room. I think Oklahoma finished with 11 tackles for loss, 4 sacks. So they were really all over the place. And just, we mentioned it during the week, Temple came in, I think, averaging like 48 points per game. They were 13th in the country in scoring. Again, that was against UMass and against Howard.
Sure.
Oklahoma's a different beast. I believe Casey Keeler, Temple's head coach, in his post-game presser said Oklahoma's defense has some savages, and I think we saw that today.
100% defense continues to dominate, and they're a lot of fun to watch, and we'll see what happens with our Mason Thomas, obviously, during the week. So, obviously, now on to SEC play. They'll step back out of SEC play after they got the bye, then Kent State. But now you're into conference play, obviously, for the most part, the rest of the way. Auburn coming into town next week. Auburn also undefeated. They won again today, so they're going to be 3-0 with Jackson Arnold coming in here next Saturday. Obviously, we'll have all week to talk about it, and there's going to be a lot of Arnold discourse and all that. It's going to be a very interesting week in both Norman and Auburn leading up to this game. But for you, Tom, just where are you standing with this team going to SEC play? Obviously, I don't know how much. We knew, coming off the Michigan game, just go to handle business at Temple, and they certainly did that today. It's hard not to feel really confident about this team. Again, kind of the same thing I've said a few times. When you have a defense playing the way it is, and you got the quarterback playing the way he is, it feels like going to SEC play. If you're Oklahoma, you got to feel pretty confident starting next week. Do you not? A lot to like right now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You feel confident. You want to see where Keontae Lewis is after exiting the game there in the second quarter. Sorry. Yeah, right. You want to see where he's at, but you like the progress the offensive line is making. They rolled with mostly the same starting lineup, 4 of the 5. Sure. Logan Howland stepped in at left tackle with Michael Fasusi, being held back for cautionary reasons there. But you like that they're finding a little bit of rhythm there. John Mateer is obviously very comfortable in this offense. He's executing it well. Mm-hmm. Everybody else seems to be getting on the same page as him too. And then the defense, this is what we expected from this defense. And Brent talked about it. It's like when they're clicking like this, it's like they're at recess. Yeah. It's like they're just out there, having fun, playing the game. They got more good depth. He didn't say great depth, but good depth at all 3 levels, and that really shows when you can just roll out there and have all these other guys rotating in and being able to see no real drop off right now.
Oklahoma handled business today. That's really the best way I can put it. They just, from start to finish, Temple had no life. Never for even a moment do you think Temple was in this game. Not for one play. And that's what you want from a team that's, has pretty high aspirations right now. Oklahoma gets it done 42-3. They roll over Temple. This was a very weird game. We talked about it a little bit on Friday. What's the atmosphere going to be like? It was not a very big crowd. It was a shade under 25,000. It's hard to say because the colors are similar. I would say it was about a 50-50 crowd, though. Pretty close to 50-50.
It wouldn't surprise me if Oklahoma had the edge. But again, it's hard to tell when the colors are similar and all the fans are kind of wearing the same shades. Yeah,
it was close, but it got kind of loud at the beginning of the game a couple times. Temple fans getting up, trying to will their defense, but Oklahoma took them out of it, played really, really well, and handled business. First game in Pennsylvania over 40 years, and went pretty well. 42-3. Sooners get the job done. Full coverage over on the website oklahoma.247sports.com. Remember, you can subscribe. Use the promo code SoonersPod60, and you can be obviously a VIP member for a year at 60% off. Full coverage over there. A lot more to come coming out of this game, certainly on Saturday as well into Sunday. And then Monday, we turn the page over. SEC play with Auburn coming to town next week. Going to be very, very interesting all week long leading up to that game, and certainly what the heck's going to go down next Saturday when Jackson Arnold and the Auburn Tigers make their trip to Norman next Saturday afternoon. That's it for now. Full coverage over the website, YouTube channel. Here from Brent Venables, Ben Arbuckle, John Mateer, and a slew of other players. We'll see you on Monday, James D. Jackson and us too, to recap it all, break it all apart, and look ahead to the start of SEC play. We will see you then. For Tom Green, I'm Josh Callaway, signing off from Philly. Oklahoma gets the job done 42-3 over Temple to move to 3-0 at the early part of the 2025 season.